Sefer Nitei Gabriel brings down from the Swarm occupation a number of Hagim to be knowing at a person's yahrzeit. Ultimately, the purpose of all these Hagim is to have an aliyah for the neshama of the nifter of the Muteris that is happening in yahrzeit. So today we'll talk about what we can do so that Esti's neshama can have an aliyah. Now, we all know that we do mitzvahs in this world, we get schar for what we do here. But we also get schar as a result of the consequences of the good actions that we do. So obviously, if you do a Kiddush Hashem, you get a mitzvah for the Kiddush Hashem, but you also, to the extent that you influence people and inspire them to do better, then you get additional mitzvahs as a result of that. And when there's a minute to speak about the nice and tighten and the actions that the Nifter and Neferes had on their yahrzeit, and if you're inspired from that, as a result of that, the Nifter and Neferes and Hashem will have an aliyah. So in that context, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the uniqueness of Esti, and hopefully we'll be inspired from that, and as a result, her Hashem will have an aliyah. Esti had a very unique relationship with her parents. She was a tremendous mechabedes Abe. She was a very special granddaughter to our Savta Feige, and I think it's fair to say she gave Savta more joy than maybe any of the other grandchildren. She did a tremendous amount of chesed. I remember once where I was getting some free dating therapy from her a number of years ago, and basically many consecutive hours of just that type of talk, and the only time she broke away after profusely apologizing was when she had to do Tavshei Shabbos for us. So that's really the type of person that she was. She was about stucco beyond her means. I think Shula just told me the other day that after Esti was Nifter, Shula had some access to some of the financial accounts, and she was surprised by how much stucco she had given to Chaylakim. She was an awesome friend who really cared for people in general and friends in particular, and I can go on. But I think there's even one more wonderful quality that Esti had that very few among us have, and she had an ayin tov, or a good eye. No ayin ra, no kinna, no jealousy. And we live in a world today where there's a lot of materialism, of course, and there is a lot of kinna, but Esti did not have any of it. Like many of us, Esti did not have it easy with shidduchim, but she still wished everyone well. She was happy with her friends' success in shidduchim, and she did what she could to have her friends and strangers find happiness. This is not a simple thing to beat the Yitzhar in us, to not have any kinna, and to truly look at people with an ayin tov, but that was Esti. So in this yahrzeit, it would be wonderful for us to remember Esti and to be inspired by her wonderful personality and all of her nice and tovim, and hopefully, as a result of that, her neshama will have an aliyah. Esti has a very loving aunt and uncle in Yerushalayim, I know I don't have many children, so we have many cousins there. And all of them love Esti very, very dearly. They couldn't be here this evening, but they did send me some literature here that they asked that I read, so I'll read verbatim. Esti was, this is from my Dada Ahuva, our Dada Ahuva. Esti was mamish part of our family, so much so that when she spent the year here following her high school graduation, both Miko and I felt that she was one of our daughters, a sister to them. She would always bring along that happy laughter and big smile, and what joy, the joy she would bring us after Feige, the loving care they shared, how she gave of herself. Esti, bright, intelligent, thoughtful, positive, and looking at life's challenges. Esti, my beloved niece. We miss you. This is from my uncle Miko, which is his nickname is Rachmiel. Esti was a good girl, meaning she had a good heart and a good eye to see things for the good. Esti had an inner pleasantness and inner goodness that shone outside. She was a devoted friend who had a unique appreciation for light. Her special laughter conveyed a message of being happy with others. I remember her surprise visit to Tuli's wedding. She knocked on the door, stood there, and burst out laughing. It was so characteristic, but very special. And this is a letter from Lani, our cousin. Esti was extremely pleasant and full of life. She had an enthusiastic smile and was very humble. She was very close to me. Despite the physical distance that separated us, we had girl-to-girl conversations on deep topics, personal heart-to-heart conversations, and whenever we met, I felt the closeness. I was born 1 month after Esti, and we spent many days together in the same playpen. And when her parents came back to Yerushalayim, we had many opportunities to play together. When we were in 12th grade, I had the opportunity to visit a family in the United States. Esti was one of the organizers of our wonderful trip, where we had many memorable and exciting visits. I remember how she took me and paid for a special appointment in a famous beauty salon, where I came out with an extraordinary haircut. It was very important to her that we, my sister and I, enjoyed ourselves to the fullest. A few months after our visit, Esti came to study in Israel. We had occasional opportunities to get together and enjoy her company like a sister. I remember how excited and active she was when her friends started dating, how excited she was before her marriage, how excited she was with her children, and particularly when she and her family came to Israel, we spent time together as young couples. To me, it seems that Esti is in the U.S., far but close. We miss her. This is from her cousin, Effie. I remember Esti as a very glowing, radiating and warm-hearted cousin. Esti had a perpetual smile and a rolling laughter, a shining face, a generous and giving personality. Someone you'd want to be with and to whom you would pour your heart out to. Her listening skills and advice were indicative of a wise and caring person. We cannot forget her unexpected entrance in my sister's wedding, arriving to share in our simcha, surprising friends and family in a positive way, and enjoying life with others. And finally, from the third cousin who is close to Esti's age, I remember the wonderful laughter that still rings in my ears. She taught me a lesson that is engraved in my memory till today. If you have nothing good to say nothing. Even though I was a small child, when her family moved away, she came especially to my wedding. I was very moved by her surprise appearance, taking off from work and incurring the expense. She was a true example of a caring person. As you can tell, Esti's extended family truly loved her. So on behalf of the family, I also want to thank Eli Sarfati. Eli manages and establishes and manages Keren Esther, which is a startup that gave over $1 million to needy families in Eretz Yisrael. And he does really good things. So Eli, I'm sure Esti is very, very happy. Also on behalf of the family, we want to thank several couples from Esti's neighborhood in New Hampstead that are with us tonight. Shoshana Schachter, Sharon Richter, and Sari Hager. Every year since Esti's Ketira, they have organized a ladies' share of Shabbos Agodol Zecher L'Ilui Nishmas Esti. Well, last year they had approximately 30 participants. So thank you. There's also many to say to Hillel when we say Psukim, and we were talking about the B'nai Gabriel and the different things we can do with L'Ilui Nishmas people. So one of the other minhagim that people do for L'Ilui Nishmas people is say to Hillel in their name. And the minig is, and you'll see on your table there are some printouts of just simply 2 pages for Tehillim, where you have the name of the Nifter, which is Esther, and then it's followed by Neshama. So there's basically 8 sets of Psukim, Aleph, Samach, Kaf, Reish, Nun, Shin, and Hey. So we just kindly request everyone to take it home and at your convenience, prior to Shkia tomorrow, if you can be kind enough to read that and to have Esther in mind, it would be appreciated. It's also similarly a minute to learn Mishnayos. Similarly to that sort of structure, we say a Mishnah that goes with the name of the Nifter of the Teres. Here the Esther is Aleph Samach Taf Reish, followed by Yeshama Nun Shin Mem Hey. So we have 8 Mishnayos, and we're going to learn those 8 Mishnayos following this speech, and 8 people will say 8 different Mishnayos. And after that, following the learning of the Mishnayos of Abi Stifferbrum, Yomi's husband, to make a scene the Septa, to be followed by Kaddish. And so that you know the structure of the rest of the evening. When we finish dinner and we bench, we're about an hour. And thank you all very much for coming. And on behalf of Shula, Meir, Abi, Chana, Eli, and Naomi, thank you.
Points of comparing for Tefillah in general, and mitzvahs in general, for Tefillah. I do this ballot of Rebbe's Rosh. So he should not get up to daven unless he's in a serious frame of mind. I want to upshot. Hasidim were showing how you showing sha'achas in this ballot. The early Hasidim were showing sha'achas, they would wait an hour. U'mispalin doesn't say they would wait an hour in order to prepare for davening. Showing sha'achas, u'mispalin. They would daven for an hour before they started the daven. All the same meaning, before a person does a mitzvah, some people say the person should stop and think, because Baruch should help me do the mitzvah. Are you showing sha'achas u'mispalin to prepare for mitzvahs? This you have to leave him alone. You can't do anything without your brother shell. You have to daven, he should help you. I feel our male shell, we should do it. I feel our male shell, we should the king is approaching you and asks you something. If your male shell greets you, lo yishivenu. Obviously, this is talking about a king that is not going to kill you if you don't answer him. Pashup Shas. Here the Gemara says also, if the snake is on your heel, we're not talking about poison, the snake is going to bite you, it's going to hurt. Lo yafsek, a person shouldn't interrupt his tefillah.
So we'll go with the letter Samech. Sukkah she'igvar l'mala meser ma'amo p'sulo. So sukkah which the height of the sukkah from the ground is higher than 20 amma is possible. The reason for that is because beyond that point, it's not considered to be a dira sarai. And in order for the sukkahs to be kosher, it has to be something that could be arai. So you can make a sukkah as solid as it could be, but if it's under 20 amma, it's considered to be arai. After 20 amma, by definition, it's kavua and therefore it's possible. The Rebbe Master, because he holds that you require a sukkah skeva. V'shein ha'kvar asar t'fachim, v'shein l'shlosh ha'tfanos, v'sh'chamas ha'merubah mitzilasa t'sula. And if it's less than 10 t'fachim high, or it doesn't have 3 tfanos, or the tama is merubah mitzilasa, which means that the shade that you see on the ground from the sun coming to the top, it's considered to be puzzle. The reason for that is it's not less, if it's less than 10 t'fachim, then it's considered to be not livable, and it has to be a dira. And chamasa and shlosh ha'tfanos is the same idea. But chamasa merubah mitzilasa is that, again, it has to, the whole idea of a sukkah is that it be stuffed. And if it have stuffed, at the point where you have more sun than shade, you have more sun than shade in the sukkah, so then obviously it's not considered to be a sukkah. Sukkah yeshana, which is considered to be, so sukkah yeshana is an old sukkah. What does that mean? The Mishnah continues, sukkah yeshana, one makes the sukkah before 30 days. Now, if he makes the sukkah, the shame sukkah, after, well, actually earlier rather than the 30 days, everybody agrees that that sukkah is a sukkah k'sheira. However, if he didn't have any intent, it was stam, so according to Beis Shammai, that would be a sukkah p'sula, and according to Beis Hill, that would be kasha. But if he did it l'shem chag beyond 30 days, everybody agreed it would be a sukkah k'sheira.
The next Mishnah is letter Tav, and it's a Mishnah that's going to talk about Tefillah, introducing Shachris, Mincha, Mariv, and Musaf. I just want to say that, in remembering Esti, certainly Esti was a person who davened beautifully. Anyone who saw her daven, she davened with incredible sincerity. We know that she had a lot of tefillah for other people, and anyone who saw her daven knew that she was truly connecting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu when she davened. So again, in this Mishnah, there is an introduction to this Mishnah that we showed him talk about what tefillah is. Is it a mitzvah d'oraisa, mitzvah d'rabbanan, machlokas, the Rambam, and the Ramban. And the Rambam, who holds that is a mitzvah d'oraisa, doesn't hold that we have to daven these set tefillahs. He holds the d'oraisa that you have to daven one tefillah a day. But even in that description, the Rambam feels that the tzura of davening, that we daven, that you start off first with praise, then you make your request, and then you end off with thanks. That surah is the surah of tefillah, which implies that even that's the surah of how one should daven on the d'oraisa level. So we always acknowledge, first we praise the Rebbeinu Shalom, we submit our requests before him, and then we thank him for all that we have. Tefillah Shachar ad Chatzos. The Tanna Kama holds that Tefillah Shachar, this man is till midday, with 2 dagar and Shos. Tefillah Mincha ad ha'erev. The Tefillah of Mincha goes until the evening. It's machlekes, that means Tzeisa Kochav or Shkis Chama. Shainim, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Plag Mincha until the midpoint of the afternoon. Tfilas HaErev Ein Lakva, the nighttime prayer of Marav has no set designation. The guy learns that means that there's no time. Whenever is not a time of Shacharis or Mincha, that's a time for Marav, and it has nafkaminas. The Shalom Musaf Kol Hayom. And the Tefillah of Musaf goes all day. It starts right after Shacharis, and you have the full day to say it. Rabbi Yehuda Omer at Sheva Shos. Rabbi Yehuda limits the time of Musaf until 7 hours into the day.
This mission is the first mission in Parakut Test in Seven Shabbos, and it's talking about what was said at the last parak. It said it's in Kol Tzarech Milos in the Shabbos that anything that's necessary to do for Milah you let it do on Shabbos, even though it involves Malacha. So in this mission it says in Machlekes about how far that extends. Lezer says maybe Erev Shabbos. If someone forgot to bring the examel, the scalpel for the milah before Shabbos, and here the Shabbos megula, and bring it on Shabbos, but it has to be uncovered so that everyone knows that it's carrying it for the purpose of the milah. It's carrying a package that people don't know what it is, so then they'll be chayshik. They'll suspect him being Chal Shabbos for no reason. The sakana, let's say it's a time where the Malchus makes it a sakana to carry such thing in public. So mechaseyu al pi edim, then he can carry it covered, but first he has to have edim standing there to let everybody know that what he was carrying was for the purpose of milah. Lezer said further, even something that's as removed as kursin, eitzim, lasis, bechamin, even you can cut down the trees to make the charcoal, lasis, kli barzel, in order to light the furnace, to forge kli barzel, to forge a metal implement to do the milah. As removed as the malacha might be from the milah itself, you're still allowed to do it on Shabbos. Rabbi Kiva disagrees. It says, Klal Amar Rabbi Kiva. Kol malacha she'efshar la'aseisa me'erev Shabbos, any malacha that could have been done me'erev Shabbos, eina doiches haShabbos. It does not push off Shabbos. She'i efshar la'aseisa me'erev Shabbos, but that which is impossible to do from erev Shabbos, meaning the milah itself, which has to be done on the 8th day, doiches haShabbos, that is doiches haShabbos. That does push off Shabbos. So if somebody did not prepare something for the milah that involves malacha, so then he does not have the option of doing it himself, he has to find some other aid.
This is the Shabbos Perek Chof Aleph. Mishnah Aleph, the Mishnah discusses the union of muktzah and when it's permissible to carry something that's muktzah through the medium of something that is not muktzah. Someone can carry his son, who's not muktzah, even though the son is carrying a stone which is muktzah. The kalkala v'evan v'toicha, and a basket of fruit or something else that has a stone in it. The basket of fruit is not muktzah, and even though the stone is there, one can still carry it. Metaltal and truma tamei ima tahira. So if you have truma, which is tamei, which is ordinarily muktzah because it can't be eaten by anyone, by a kohen or otherwise, so it has no use. It's muktzah. But if you have truma tamei and on the same platform or the same table or the same tray, truma tahira or chulin, which is permissible to eat, so one may carry that as well. And then finally, the Mishnah adds Rabbi Yehuda's Eimer. Af ma'alanis and meduma be'achad b'mei. Meduma is a mixture of teruvas of chulin and truma. So it has the union of truma. But if it's achad b'mei, if it's only 1% of it is truma, so the halacha is that one may allow to eat it even as chulin, but you have to be mafresh, you have to take off that 1% so that the kohen doesn't lose that amount. So still it needs a tikkun, so it has to some kind of, it's not completely fit, as it were, but still Rabbi Yehuda holds that that as well may be taken, may be eaten, and you can do the afrasha at some later point.
Zimun, however, my percentage demai, which is Suffolk Meiser Rishon, sorry, it's a Suffolk where the Meiser was taken out, or Meiser Rishon Shnittel to Moslik, or Meiser Rishon that did have Truma taken out, or Meiser Sheni, the Hektish Shnittel, or Meiser Sheni, or Hektish that was redeemed.
So this Mishnah is Lamem Mishnah. It's the first Mishnah of Masechtas Brothers. Maybe it's like Korean Shema Barbas. When is it that you have the obligation to say Shema? So Mishnah was going to say Mishasha, Kohanim, also not the Shema. The time that the Kohanim are obligated or can begin to eat their Shema. That's like Shema Rishayna until the end of the first watch. They rarely ask, it's always rarely ask, say until the night.
The Mishnah is talking about that when two people come to the bezin to testify, and someone is Chayvisa, the bezin would check them with a number of questions to make sure that they're saying the truth. So the Mishnah says they both can sign Rishon Hakiris, they would check the Eidim with 7 questions. Is a Shavua, which year in the Yovel cycle, that there were 7 years of 7 in Yovel, and the last year, number 50, was Yovel, so which set of 7 in the Yovel cycle? Beis Roshana, which year in those 7 years did this happen? Beis Chodesh, which month in the year? Bekam Chodesh.
My siblings, I just wanted to thank Eitan immensely for taking the initiative and making tonight happen as it did. I'm sure a lot went into it, as you can tell, and it didn't go unnoticed. And my parents have immense gratitude to you for everything you've done. I'm sure there are other people involved as well, so I don't know who you are, but it's very much appreciated.
You want off script?
Again, to try to tie together the beginning of the chapter and the end of the chapter. The beginning of Tainus says, the Amos saying that's Kirin Guris Geshamin. When do we mention? It means mentioning the Gevura, the power of Hashem that's shown through the rain, the Geshamin. And this refers to what we say, Mashav Ruach Umer Geshem in Shemon Esrei. And the Gemara, it asks, why is it called the Gevura Geshamin? Why are we, the Gemara says, my Gevura Geshamin? What is this terminology? Where is it coming from? And the Gemara answers, Neshe Yarden Gevura. It comes down with rain and the Gemara, and it comes down with rain. And the Gemara goes through several proofs to show how the rain is compared to Bris Olam, and Bris Olam is referred to as Gevura. The Maharsha asks the question that it's true that Gevura is mentioned in the Pasuk. He says, why don't we talk about Koyach? Why don't we talk about strength? Gevura, says the Maharsha, implies power over another. Why don't we say specifically Gevura? Why don't we talk about Koyach? And I add that it would seem if we're talking about rain, we should talk about the chesed of the rain, that Hashem gives sustenance to the world. And what the Maharsha answers is that it's specifically referring to the Gevura of the rain. It says that there's an inherent difference between the way one human being might wield power over another human being, and the way
Arab Esther fund that was described as intense, and actually it's quite active, and anyone who has an interest to know more about it can speak to Ellie Sarfat. So we're coming fresh off the holiday of Purim. So I want to ask, who was Esther? Esther Amalka. What do we know about her and her life? So really, we can see that Esther had 3 parts to her life, 3 segments, and we only focus on 2 of them. The first stage in Esther's life, she was a young girl. Esther she was a beautiful young girl. She didn't draw too much attention to herself. She didn't say where she was from. She didn't say who she was. She tried hard in her sneakiest way to remain sanua and not draw attention to herself. That's the pride of Esther. But then she's transformed. She's catapulted into public life. She becomes the queen. And she tries to hold on to that privateness that she has. And yet she goes on to become a Neviah, someone who would save all Israel. How did she transform? What single point happened to Esther that allowed her to go from this kind of timid, quiet, sanua, Bas Yisrael, to a savior of Israel, to an heroine? And that moment happened when Mordechai said to her, if you're going to worry about yourself, then you and your whole family, everything that your heritage stands for will be lost. And that was a transformative moment in Esther's life where she rose to the challenge, she became selfless, and her whole life she went, she was willing to give it all up. She was willing to risk her own life, go in front of King Ahasuerus and plead on behalf of the Jewish people, not herself. And that's the 2 parts of the story. And she goes ahead, she's courageous, she saves the Jewish people, and we all walk away singing, dancing. And we read Megillah Esther, and it's a happy day, and we all go off happy, celebrating. What a wonderful story. But there's part 3 to Esther's life. We all go having a great time, Mishloach Manos, Sudas Purim, and Esther goes back to the palace. Esther goes back to seemingly a tragic ending. She has to remain the rest of her life the queen of Persia, married to what some consider a tremendous Russia. She had to leave Mordechai's home and stay in the palace next to Ahasuerus her whole life. She didn't get to celebrate. She didn't get to enjoy. She didn't even get to be part of the Jewish people. She was alone in solitude for the rest of her life in the Persian palace. That's not a place for somebody this to be. She probably hated every single day of her life. The rest of it, everyone was saved and all happy. They made a holiday and she was there left alone. What a tragic ending. But the truth is that's not the case. She had a purpose still in her selfless way to reach the next level, to remain in the palace, to bring up their Yavesh, to bring up her son, who would ultimately be a benefactor to the Jewish people and allow for the building of the Beis HaMikdash. Yes, it wasn't easy for her, but she needed to remain near the king and near the prince so she could go on to the next level of having a selfless life dedicated to make sure that the Jewish people would survive and flourish. How appropriate is that to talk about Esther's story, Esther Malka's story, and to think about Esther, our Esther Malka. Such a beautiful, sanua, young woman, a girl, a young lady who was nice as chen b'chol ro'ah, who found favor in everyone's eyes. But then she grew up to be such a special woman. Why? What was her singular point? She put others ahead of herself her entire adult life. That's who Esti was. And everybody said that about her. She didn't focus on herself, she focused on the need of others, even in the moments of her own need. And then there's the ending life, the beautiful ending life of Esther, where she needed to be close to the king, where she's clearly close to the king, doing in her selfless way, helping out her family and Klal Yisrael. And so it's not a tragic ending, it's an ending that maybe we don't understand, but it's an ending where she is opening her heart to the Jewish people more and more, close to the king, and continuing in her beautiful ways of being dedicated and selfless to others. I really want to thank Eitan for his sensitivity to bring us all together. I feel this was a really appropriate way for us to remember and recognize Esther Bas Meir on her yard site, and the neshama should have it.
Amen.
Adonai Ashiana Yaneni Yamgarin Baruch Adonai Hamdulillah.
Video the whole thing.
V'yispara v'yishtabach v'yispara v'yishamam v'yisnasei v'yisador v'yis'ala v'yis'alo v'yis'avu v'yilam zavar v'zav v'shirasad v'zav nechasad amiram v'yamav v'v'romen. Amen.